Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mickey in Minutes. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga, and this is the weekly Top 3, a brand new show where I talk about the biggest news stories from the week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments down below so that we can make this a conversation. Now, this is the first episode of this brand new show, so let me quickly explain what it is. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the three biggest news stories, but the thing is, I only have 15 minutes to talk about all three of them. So, this could be kind of challenging because I've got a lot to say. Now, since this is the first episode, and it's been a couple weeks since I've talked about Disney news with you guys, I used to talk about it on the old show Mim Monday. If you know, you know. So that means that I'm behind on a little bit of news. So I want to go back and talk about a couple of news stories that are still pretty important on this week's episode. And then next week, we'll talk about just news from the week. All right. So, with that being said, let's jump right in to this week's weekly top three. Here we go. All right, 15 minutes on the clock starts right now. Our first story is the Carousel of Progress will be changing completely at the Magic Kingdom. Guys, when we first heard about changes coming to Carousel of Progress, the only thing we knew about was that Walt animatronic from Disneyland coming. Now, back on, what was that, May 28th, they announced that literally every single scene is going to be changed. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was completely heartbroken. This was such hard news for me to hear. But let's go ahead and talk about what that means and what's actually going to be happening with the Carousel of Progress. So, like I mentioned, the Walt Disney animatronic will be coming, and that's going to take the first scene, which right now is kind of like the pre-scene where it has the little wheel cog thing and it has the narration. That's going to be a Walt Disney animatronic. He's going to be wearing his blue cardigan sweater, which you probably know from the classic footage of Walt Disney in the Carousel of Progress from the 1964 World's Fair, where he was talking about how they made it and stuff. So this animatronic is going to be in that outfit, and he's going to be in what looks like an Imagineering office. He's going to have tons of like posters and Easter eggs behind him of like the monorail, and one of them is of the Progress Land poster, which I actually have above my desk up there. There's a tiki bird and what looks like the Tower of the Four Winds from Small World, and obviously an Epcot Progress City map, which all these great Easter eggs, but he's going to be talking about the 1964 World's Fair, which is going to be the starting point of our new Carousel of Progress show. And then when it switches over to Act 1, it's still going to be the 60s, but this time it's going to be during the moon landing, which is a little weird for me because I feel like we've already done that. We have a scene of a family watching the moon landing in Spaceship Earth right now. So it just seems a little redundant. I don't think we need that twice. But, it is, according to Disney Parks blog, one of humanity's greatest achievements, which obviously it is, and this whole show is about technology. So I think Walt rooting us in the 1964 World's Fair first, and then talking about the moon landing in the 60s, I think that's a pretty good start to this new show. The second scene, Act 2, is going to take place in the 1980s. Okay, this is during the 80s on Halloween night. And on this scene, Sarah, the wife, is going to be taking center stage, and John is going to be on one of the side stages, which is a little weird because we've never had that in Carousel Progress before. But hey, that's progress, right? So John's going to be passing out candy to trick-or-treaters, which I'm willing to bet at least one of them is going to be dressed up like Michael Jackson, right? Maybe some Thriller action going on there. And Sarah's going to be talking about all the progress between the 60s and the 80s. So that's going to be pretty cool. 80s are cool. I was born in the 80s, late 80s. I'm really more of a 90s kid, which brings us to the next scene, which is the 90s. So actually, 1999, the very end of the 90s. So this is going to take place on New Year's Eve, 1999, the countdown to the new millennium. And this is crazy because obviously I remember this. I was a teenager during this time, and like, this is, for me, this is the era where, like, Blink 182 released Enema of the State, and just so many great things for pop punk music, which is what I'm really into, came out that year. So I'm just picturing, like, the son dressed in, like, long Dickies shorts and, like, a Blink 182 shirt or something. Probably not going to do that. It'll probably lean more in, like, the Hollister, what was it, like Abercrombie and Fitz kind of style. But I digress. So they're going to be counting down to the year 2000, which is crazy because that was Y2K, and everyone was worried about, like, the computers crashing and the world ending and stuff like that. So I wonder how much they're going to talk about Y2K in Carousel of Progress, but it's going to be interesting. And during this scene, they're going to have grandma flip the TV over to wrestling, which is going to be like modern day wrestling, right? Maybe like Dwayne Johnson or something. The Rock. That'd be a fun tie-in since he's a big Disney guy now. But of course, that's a nod to the old Carousel of Progress where she's like, give him a left, you big lug. So that's interesting. 1999 in the Carousel of Progress. What do you guys think of that? That's a little weird, right? Um, and of course, I'm wearing a Phantom Menace shirt, which came out that year also. So crazy, crazy year for them to be doing in the Carousel of Progress. All right, and then Act Four is the possible future. Now, this is the scene that I think I'm most excited about, besides the '90s, which is interesting because I lived it. Um, but Act Four, the possible future, this is where they have the concept art from. They're sitting in a living room, and the daughter is playing the guitar. And there's like a windowscape where you see the mountains, right? It looks like the Colorado mountains. But according to Disney Parks blog, this is actually taking place on a whole nother planet. So this is crazy. I don't know what's going on in this scene, but it looks beautiful. It looks like a 1960s retro future, very much like the Jetsons, or like that new Fantastic Four movie that came out, and there's like a little robot made in this concept art, and this part actually looks really, really cool. So they have a new poster that they've released as well, which looks just like the old poster, which I have, and it's actually going to be part of my new backdrop coming soon. But the new poster it's fantastic. It's actually one of my favorite things from this whole press release was this new poster. It has the robot in it, and it just looks like a 1960s like retro future, which is cool. So I know I said I was really worried about this, and right now I'm talking really positively about it. I think I've had some time to let it sink in, and I think my stages of grief over losing Carousel of Progress, I'm already on acceptance. I'm sure when I get to Disney World soon and I see it closed, it's going to be heartbreaking. But, what are you going to do about it? You just got to embrace the possible future, right? But I did have an idea, my own idea for what I think they should have done here, really quick, because I'm already at 7 minutes left. Oh my goodness, this is hard. So I think they should have done like a mini land in Tomorrowland where it's the 1964 like World's Fair mini land, and they could have had the Carousel of Progress be the same eras that they did in the 1964 World's Fair, and really like take it back in time and have that whole area feel like the 1960s. Imagine that, a 1960s Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom. I think that would have been brilliant. But let me know, what are your thoughts about this whole Carousel of Progress redo that's happening? I'm really nervous, but I'm also pretty hopeful. All right. Got a few minutes left. Let's see if I can nail two more stories here. The next story is the backstory for the Monstropolis land over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Uh, the land, I guess, is going to be called Monstropolis, the City Frightful. And the story of the land is Human Day. Human Day, HUMAN, that's going to stand for Humans Understand Monsters Are Nice. And on Disney Parks blog, they released a newspaper article from the Monstropolis Horn, which is their newspaper, and it's detailing this whole thing. They now have a human relations department, and they're opening up Monstropolis to the humans because, humans aren't so bad. There's no reason for a 2319 anymore. And, monsters and humans can get along. So us humans are being invited into Monstropolis to, hang out with them and explore all the things that they have to offer. Their local restaurants. Of course, we're going to have Harryhausen's restaurant. They want us to try their local cuisine and see a show at the Glob Theater. Um, Again, guys, this is the theater that used to house Muppet Vision 3D, and that hurts my heart so bad to see that go. But this is going to be some sort of Human Day presentation, so I'm very curious to see what they put in there. But this concept seems really cool. I'm glad that they're tying the land together, and it's not just like, oh, come to Monstropolis and ride the roller coaster, right? Like they're actually having a backstory that supports the entire land, and I'm here for it. You know, I'm still sad about Muppets Land going away, but I'm here for this new Monsters Inc. land because this backstory makes it feel really, really anchored. What do you guys think of the Human Day backstory? Okay, I have less than 5 minutes to talk about the last story here. This weekly top three it's intense. It's crazy for me. All right, here we go. So the last story just happened today. Shanghai Disneyland is celebrating its 10th anniversary tomorrow, June 16th, which is crazy. It's the same anniversary of my wedding anniversary. That's awesome. But June 16th, 2016, Shanghai Disneyland opened and they celebrated today with a presentation. Josh D'Amaro was there. Andrew Bolstein, the president and general manager of Shanghai Disneyland, was there. And Bob Iger was there. They actually gave him a statue to thank him for creating this park that is authentically Disney and distinctly Chinese, as he used to always say. And they gave him this statue. It's like a replica of the top of the castle. And that's pretty cool. And then the big thing was that they gave a name to the new Shanghai Disneyland hotel. It's going to be called the Disney Enchanted Star. Now, this hotel actually broke ground back on August 31st, 2023, but they finally gave us a name and a date, kind of. It's going to be open in the winter of 2027. It's an Art Nouveau style architecture type hotel, but it's also going to pay homage to Shanghai's early 20th century architecture. It's actually going to be the smallest hotel at Shanghai Disney at just 400 rooms. So I know there were rumors going around that they were about to announce another park for Shanghai Disneyland, but they didn't. They just gave an award to Bob Iger, and they kind of like a thank you award, I guess. And they announced this new hotel, Disney Enchanted Star. So yeah, happy 10-year anniversary to Shanghai Disneyland. It's a park that I've never been to, but I love to go there one day. Of course, like every other Disney fan, I have a bucket list of wanting to visit every single Disney park around the world. And actually, next summer or next year sometime, which I haven't figured out when, but next year we're planning a trip to Tokyo to celebrate our 10th anniversary, mine and my wife's. So we're really stoked on that. But anyways, with 2 minutes to spare, guys, I think I did it. I think I talked about the three biggest news stories going on right now. The Carousel of Progress getting completely redone, which is crazy that the 90s are going to be in the Carousel of Progress. That makes me feel kind of old, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. It's mind-boggling, but it's definitely happening. We talked about Monstropolis, the backstory over there for Hollywood Studios, Human Day. I'm really excited to eat at Harryhausen's. All right, I mean, isn't that one of the most exciting parts about this land? Besides the roller coaster, of course. I think everybody is excited for Harryhausen's. They better have that like octopus thing that's like the octopus chef monster. If they don't have an animatronic of that in this restaurant, then I'm leaving. I'm sorry. Can't eat there if they don't have the animatronic octopus chef. And of course, we talked about Shanghai Disneyland celebrating its 10th anniversary and naming the new hotel Disney Enchanted Star. So, yeah, here we go. That was the top 3 according to me. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. And of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, thanks so much for listening. Disney News is back here on Mickey in Minutes, and I hope that you're here for it. I can't wait to talk about more Disney news stories with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let's keep this conversation going. Guys, this has been awesome. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga. This is Mickey in Minutes, and I will see you next time. Bye.